Hello and welcome to On the Other Hoof, our weekly edition of the Saturday previews. We've got good action today with the 2,000 guineas over in Ireland, the Group 1. That's also accompanied by two Group 3s at the Curragh. And then also in England, we've got the Group 2 Temple Stakes, in which, hopefully, anyway, Kingsgate Native, Soul Power and Hot Streak will all oppose each other, with Pearl Secret thrown in for good measure. But it's likely to be very soft that day. But without further ado, we'll meet everyone on the panel. And it's the two people that weren't here last week with me, really. Last week I had me and Michael. This week we've got the part-timers in Adam Webb and Callum Medell. Thank you for joining us this week, guys. It's very nice of you.
Very welcome.
I can't remember what our naps were last week. I think Michael had a winning nap and I didn't.
He had Matt Athos, didn't he?
Yeah. I had the same as what Callum would have put up, A-less.
Oh yeah.
Two weeks in a row, Michael's had a winning nap.
Yeah, I know.
He has given us one for tomorrow.
That's the longest streak that anyone has ever gone on this show.
No,
I got to number 3.
Yeah, I've had 2 before. I haven't had 3.
Okay.
Very King let me down.
How are we feeling today, or for tomorrow, guys? Any good fancies tomorrow?
1 or 2. It's not
a few.
Most confident day, but
yeah. Right. Well, we'll find out on the way through. And I think it's going to be a very dull first race for us in the 150 at Goodwood, which will be the first race in Channel 4. Callum, I'll let you start off. I know we've got the same fancy in it.
Yeah, it's not really a strong one. French Navy's been running quite nicely this season, and he's a consistent type who's won here before and won some decent races. He goes on softer ground. He actually is exactly what he wants. My worry is the trip, because he hasn't run over it for a while, and he's a very keen going sort, and he's not the easiest to handle in his races. And it did look like he might appreciate a step back under it last time over a mile at Ascot when he was behind Ocean Tempest and Graphic, and before then he'd run really well over 9 furlongs behind Muller Killock. So it could potentially improve him if he settled, but he doesn't settle, and that's a worry. And I think Nabucco is the one to beat on last year's form, where he was really progressive at the end of last season. He was second in a handicap here at Glorious Goodwood behind Viewpoint, and then won his next 2 starts, a handicap and then a listed race against Proud Chieftain last time out, who was in good form at the time. He's got a £3 penalty, but there's more to come from this really well-bred type, and I think he's the one to beat tomorrow. So 11-4, I think, is pretty fair on him.
Yeah, Adam, are you in agreement with us too?
Yeah, I'm in agreement, because, well, I had a look through, and the thing with Nabucco as well is the fact he will go on the ground. I mean, the handicap he won at Salisbury was on really bad ground. He did that really well. He then went to Newmarket and beat Proud Chieftain, and for me, he is the one to beat in this race.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Nabucco ticks all the boxes, seemingly. Last year I really liked him. He's this progressive handicapper, and now he looks to take that step further into a listed race. The ground's fine, trip is fine. William Buick's banned today, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah, that was my reasoning anyway. I couldn't see him anywhere. So my reasoning is that he's banned from some reason. But 11-4 about Nabucco. Okay, with the weight he has to give away all round, he has got a bit defined on official ratings, but I think he is still a progressive horse at the age of 5, and I think it'll take a good one to beat him tomorrow. But French Navy, as Callum says, if he settles, it'll be a big danger. But that's the first race out of the way. Moving on to the 205 at Haydock now. A bit of a different one to analyse. We were talking a bit before. We said that Discussion to Follow probably won't run. He's well up there in the betting at the moment at 7-1. It's a tough one, and I think this is the first leg of the Scoop 6, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is where we're going to lose our £2 of putting it in, and bye-bye, see you next week, unless it's won, of course, and then...
Yeah. Well, with that confidence, Adam, we'll let you go first on this one.
What? Confidence? Well, I had a look through the race, and the one that I came out with is a horse of Tim Easterby's called Grissom, who ran really well at the Chester meeting last time out, and with the amount of rain we've had up north, over the last 24 hours, and today at Haydock, where the rain looked really horrible, I'd be taking him because I think the going description of good will definitely not last, and it was on soft ground last time out behind Burst of Love. Step back in trip won't be an issue for me. I think he can win a big race.
Yeah, he stole mine.
Oh dear.
It's mine. The highest mark he's won off is 90. If my memory serves me right. But he's shown glimpses of returning to form. His second last time, obviously, that was a very good run. He's off 85 tomorrow. The ground will be absolutely no problem whatsoever. So 10-1, I think, is more than fair price about him. And for the Scoop 6 purposes, I've had two in this, and I've gone for one at a bit of a bigger price, and that is Cruise to the Limit, just because the ground's fine. Oisin Murphy takes off that free £3 that we always talk about. He was a horse that I quite liked last year, so I'm going to give him a chance about 18-1. But Grissom definitely the main bet for me in that one. I think 10-1's a cracking price about him. And Callum?
Yeah, I think the market's split pretty much spot on. I think the right horses are at the head of the market. Barks and Ash in really, really good form. He came from the clouds last week it was, against Robot Boy at Thirsk. He could run well again, but off 97, I think he's vulnerable. Discussion to follow, I think he's got a great chance if he runs, but the ground, I think, will be too soft for him anyway. Run with Pride, an interesting one. He beat a decent horse at Doncaster on debut. He's done everything right at home. Off 80, could be well handicapped. The one I'm going for is Outdo, trained by David O'Mara. He's taken a little bit of time to find his form, but he may just be going the right way now. I thought he ran really well behind Aitner at York a week and a half ago now at the Dante meeting, and he just seems to be knowing his job now. And I think he's got right conditions tomorrow, and I think off 90, I think he can strike tomorrow. So Outdo for me at 9-1.
Yeah, you mentioned Barkston Ash, so I just wanted to come back to it. He's going to be present or very prominent in the betting market. Last week, obviously, he won at Thirsk. I was watching the race back, and I thought maybe you could sort of downgrade the performance a little bit. He had the rail, which obviously helped him big time, and everything else sort of in the middle of the course. At Thirsk, obviously, that rail helps a lot, as we found out last week with the Scoop 6 races. Do you think 97 just be a bit too high for him? Obviously, he's got Jason Hart taking 3 off.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, Jason Hart took 3 off on that occasion anyway, didn't he? And if my memory serves me right, I think the leaders went up quite quickly.
Yeah.
And I think he was flattered by the margin. And to be honest, I put the second in the tracker as one potentially. Well, he was in my tracker last year, and then I put him back in. So I've literally just got a comment saying I will get a win out of this horse. So
that is a very dangerous thing to do, and you should know that more than any people.
I know. He might join the elusivity club.
Exactly.
Anyway, so,
Exactly. I was about to bring it up. So moving on from the 205 at Haydock, we now got a very good race in the shape of the 220 at Goodwood. It's sort of a rematch of what we had a couple of weeks ago, Pethers Moon and Gatewood, and then, well, Collini's also in there with Blue Surf as well. So it is pretty much a like-for-like race, like it was at Ascot. The ground's likely to be soft again. And we mentioned that we think Pethers Moon may not run on the ground, but obviously didn't go too badly at Ascot. So, Callum, what were your thoughts on this race?
Yeah, I'll be disappointed and surprised if Pethers Moon runs, because it is softer out there than it was at Ascot 2 weeks ago, and he was pulled out before at Newbury, and they've always said that he wants better ground. So, I mean, if he does run, then there's not much between him and Gatewood, like we saw at Ascot, even though he's £3 better off, and I personally think Pethers Moon has got a hell of a lot more potential than Gatewood. If he doesn't run, then I think Aussie Reigns comes right into it, because Gatewood is a free-going type who hasn't been the easiest to win with, and maybe the penny is starting to drop again for him. But Aussie Reigns is a really consistent type, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. And he's run well here at Goodwood before. I remember him winning a nursery as a 2-year-old here when I backed him, and that was one of the happiest days of my life. And then he's run some really good placed efforts as well, including at the Glorious Goodwood meeting after that. The ground should be okay enough for him. He's not particularly run many times on softer ground, but I think Aussie Reigns will be interesting. But it's not a race I want to look at now, because I don't know what the prices are going to be if Pethers Moon comes out. But at the moment, 8-1 for Aussie Reigns, I think, is a little bit on the big side.
Yeah, my worry about him was the ground, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it could be a worry. Yeah.
The last time that you mentioned Aussie Reigns was a bit overpriced. I think he was third or something at 28-1.
Yeah, in the Winter Derby.
That was it.
Form in that front. Adam, your selection, please.
Well, because of the worry with Pethers Moon, I decided with Gatewood, personally, because I thought Frankie Dettori got along really well with him at Ascot. It was his first ride on the horse, and I am actually a bit of a critic of Frankie these days, so I thought, to be fair, he gave him a lovely ride. And Goodwood should be okay for him. He is the one to beat, and you have to take note of what Callum said about Aussie Reigns, because Fantasy's won at a big price. Listen. Listen, Mike.
Leave it to the pros. I'm in agreement with Adam on Gatewood. I just think now he's refound the winning. What?
I'm just saying 3 from 3. We're agreeing on everything tonight.
I know. I don't like this at all. It's not a good omen for me whatsoever. But yeah, Gatewood, the ground will be absolutely fine for him. I can't see Goodwood posing too much of a problem for him. He's ran here once before when he was behind Quest for Peace, I think it was. I wanted to say Quest for More then, Callum. Yeah. Definitely wasn't behind that one. Definitely wasn't behind that. It'll be interesting to see if Pedersen does run. I like Callum. I'm a fan of the horse, but I'd appreciate if they did wait until some better ground. Collini is one that Michael would definitely mention if he was here, but I just don't see any of them reversing the form with Gatewood, especially on this ground. Aussie Reigns, if he goes in it, could be an interesting one, but I think Gatewood at about 13-8 now, if Pedersen did stay in, that would be a fantastic price about him, with confidence of winning last time with a whole stack of second and thirds in before. Moving on now to the 240 at Haydock, the Temple Stakes, as I mentioned, the Group 2 in England. We're half expecting this one to fall apart as well, aren't we? With Soul Power, maybe a couple more fall out. I'm not sure, but hopefully we get a race of it, and 3 of the big ones stay in. Callum, this is a race I'm sure you're looking forward to.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shame that the 2 of the horses that are really well fancied are ground reliant, and the other 2 want totally different ground. Because I mean, the 4 of them I have that are pretty good sprinters. I mean, you've got Kingsgate Native and Soul Power who fought out the Palace House at Newmarket at Skinny's meeting. They did so the year before. Soul Power is absolutely one of my favourite horses in training. He's just so consistent when he gets his conditions, 5 furlong on fast ground. When he doesn't get it, he still runs really well. He's run some huge races in the Abbey when he's had softer ground, and he ran 3rd in the Nunthorpe on rain softened ground as well. But it's just not particularly right for him to run to his optimum trip and to his optimum ability. And the 2 Qatar horses, Pearl Secret and Hot Streak, are ones that really do want softer ground for me, especially Pearl Secret, who is quite a big type. And I know Adam will say that he wants 6 furlongs, so I wouldn't disagree with that at all. But I think softer ground or cut in the ground is his ideal conditions. That's exactly what he needs. And probably a flatter track than Haydock rather than an undulation track like Newmarket, which didn't seem to suit him last time. So I think Pearl Secret's got a big chance, but Hot Streak as well, without a £3 penalty. And after he ran that, I was so impressed how well he ran, and I said he will win a massive sprint this year. He'll win a Group 1 on softer grounds, and this is a Group 2, but it's possibly Group 1 standard, and Hot Streak fully deserves to be favourite for me, and I'm a little bit disappointed he is the price he is. Having a bet in the race, if it is really soft ground, then I think the Qatar 2 will fight it out, and I think a forecast is probably on the cards. But yeah, I'll probably go for a forecast and tip that up.
Have you been reading my blog or something like that?
No, exactly.
That's ridiculous. I've got Pearl Secret to beat Hot Streak in my blog.
Yeah, I'd have Pearl Secret definitely as the value, because I couldn't split them at the price. I'd have them around 2 to 1 each. So
well, it's no secret either that Pearl Secret does need softer ground.
Yeah.
Yet to really make his announcement on the scene as one of the big sprinters, but he was 3rd in the King's Stand last year. I just think on this ground he's going to be a much different proposition. As you said, that I'm sure you also stole from my blog as well, that I don't think he really liked Newmarket at all last time. Broke slowly but was restrained as well, so you can't really use that too much against him, but obviously the faster ground was against him. Newmarket, I'm convinced he didn't like it at all, so Haydock will be much more up his street, and I do think that the danger is Hot Streak. Just a quick point before moving on to Adam. Jack Dexter's a horse that I think everyone sort of backed at some point or another in their betting lives.
Yeah.
And I just read a really good quote from Niall Hannity on Twitter. Jim Goldie in the last 3 days has had 7 wins, so he's returning to form big time.
Both him and Hawkeye the new as well, but
if Jack Dexter can return to his glorious best, he's got to have a massive chance, although he was horrifically disappointing 10 days ago at York.
Yeah. Then again, that was on drying ground. Now it's raining. I can see why people would fancy him, but still he's got it to prove this season so far for me anyway. So
it was still soft enough that day though.
Yeah.
And it was more than the ground that beat him that day.
And considering the effort he put in a King's Stand on ground that he wasn't meant to like it when he was 66-1, there's something wasn't right. And for them to be running so quickly, it's either been assumed he's got over it, or they're trying to find. I don't know.
The way I was thinking about it is that Jack Dexter, you'd be hoping every time he beat Hawkeye the New, and he was behind him that day. Obviously, you got in one place, but you'd have to take it with a little pinch of salt. I think. Okay, it's a very good price, and we could be rewarded like we were with Marek last week. Obviously, he went off 12-1 and won that race. But I don't know, Jack Dexter, you have to sort of be very, very strong-willed to back that one. But now we can actually hear from Adam and his fancy in the race.
I really want to cry because I wrote a blog earlier in the week, really fancying one. I talked him up, and he's a non-runner. So, which incidentally is a champion 3-year-old Irish sprinter, which is Dutch masterpiece. Which I couldn't believe that when I heard that earlier. But anyway, now you look at the race. I mean, there's been a lot of rain, and I don't think Soul Power will run. I mean, if this was towards the end of the season, I think they would take their chance. But because you've got Royal Ascot only a few weeks away, they're not going to want to risk him. Kingsgate Native wouldn't run. Fair enough, I understand that, because the ground is just too bad for him. For me, it's Hot Streak all the way. I mean, the amount of weight he's going to get, he's a second to a stare. Pearl Secret, as Callum rightly said, I really think wants 6 furlongs as opposed to 5, but the flatter track will help, and the ground is a definite plus as well. The thing I also made a point to Luke earlier is the fact that in the King's Stand, for me, the way he finished his race just said to me, if that had been over a furlong further, I think he would have been a lot closer and could have possibly won that day. One at a huge price, and this is, and I said this to Callum earlier. Callum was telling me if this horse wins, then British sprinting is, it's not good. But just this day was only 2 lengths off Astaire and Jack Dexter in their middle park, and I know he ran a shocker first time out, but if he can come back to some form and he isn't ground dependent, he could outrun his odds. So if a forecast there, maybe a tri-cast for him to come third.
Yeah. Going back to Kingsgate Native quickly. You sort of all put questions over sort of him and taken to the ground. Looking through his form, he was second in an Abbey on soft ground behind Benbourne. He was third behind Marek on genuinely soft ground at Newbury in a Group 3. So it's not as if he hates it.
I don't know, it's just that whenever it's really soft ground, he always seems to, whenever he runs bad, it'll be on really bad ground. That's the only thing. But whenever I see bad ground, I always think, no, not Kingsgate Native.
Because I'd still expect him to run tomorrow. Because this seems to be his target every year. I mean, he's going for third win in the race. So I'd still expect him to take his chance.
Although, I'd prefer him on a better surface.
But moving on to the 255 at Goodwood, and before we do that, actually, if anyone has any questions or fancies, then we'd love to hear from them. Tweet any of us, myself, at LukeElder13, Adam, at AdamWeb121, or at Callum Medell. Tweet us, and we'll try and read them out at the end of the show and answer any questions that you have to the best of our ability. Moving on now to the 255 at Goodwood, and this I found a really, really hard race to sort of pick through. And I'm still finding it hard, to be honest. I'm going to throw Adam to the lions here and let you have a go.
Oh, thank you very much. Just what I wanted. This is a really, really tricky race. I mean, I had a look through it, and it's just one of them handicaps that you'll find 1 or 2 good horses. I mean, the one that I do like is Wahab, but I'm not sure whether the ground will be for his liking. I mean, he won a maiden at Goodwood very easily, and then he went in at the deep end at Royal Ascot against War Command. Now that race, unfortunately for me, has just not worked out at all. The only horse that's really come out is War Command, and he was not exactly his best in the Guineas the other week. If I had to make a selection, it's a really, really tricky race. This is one of the first times where I'm like, I don't know what to go for. It's just, maybe Bo Nash.
It's one of the only times we're ever going to hear Adam lost for words.
Yeah, I'm lost for words. Genuinely lost for words.
Quite nice, isn't it?
It's shut up.
Quite nice.
I'll stick up Bo Nash each way, but it's just not a race that. It's honestly one of them races that just makes me go, If the ground was better, then Wahab I'd be very interested in, but I can't give a confident selection, I'll be honest.
Yeah, my selection is far from confident. I've sided with Penny Drops, who has disappointed more than she has actually put her best foot forward. She won last time at Lingfield, which wouldn't really suggest you're a soft ground horse winning at Lingfield. But her first 4 runs were all on soft ground. She came third, second, and second. Now, the last 2 of them were odds on, so technically you would probably view that as a failure. But she lost to a horse, Perfect Blessings, in Indy. I think Indy runs today. I think Perfect Blessings also runs today as well. Watching the race back, Perfect Blessings does look like a genuine out-and-out soft ground horse, whereas Penny Drops may just be, I don't mind it. But they were in maidens as well, so off a mark of 87, maybe there could be a little bit of work in the handicap, and especially soft ground. She's experienced it more than enough times to know what it's all about. So I'd take a chance with Penny Drops, but you're not really being rewarded with much of a price value. It's about 5 to 1, I think, the biggest price. But that's more of a forced selection on my behalf. I don't really fancy much strongly in this race, so I'm hoping Callum does.
No, sorry. Penny Drops was one of probably the 3 that stood out because you mentioned Perfect Blessings, and I'm going to talk about Perfect Blessings in the next race, but she was no match for Perfect Blessings, but I think potentially Perfect Blessings could be quite smart. So she's a solid candidate, and I think if you're looking to win the place fund tomorrow for the Scoop 6, I think she's a solid one. I think Supplicant is the interesting one. I mean, been given a chance by the handicapper, going down £5 for a pretty poor run in the Greenham, but the Greenham works out really well, and I think you could probably just put a line through that. Before, a 6th in the Middle Park to a Stare, again, form that's working out really well. Before that was a winner here when getting the run of things in a really slowly run race behind Rufford. That's not as good a form, but he's a consistent type, and I think 105 is a fair mark down in grade on softer ground. Bar that, I think Nakuti's probably got a squeak off bottom weight. Has to it's out the handicap by £3, but I think Nakuti could run well at 14 to 1. So I will put Nakuti up actually, but it's not a great race, and it's not particularly a betting race.
Yeah, it's the race that you really don't want in Scoop 6, but it's there. You get 1 or 2 every single week, and it's like, just whatsoever. But you have to. So that's that out of the way. Well done, chaps. On to the third last race that we'll be covering today, the 3:10 at Haydock. And again, for me, this wasn't much easier. I think Michael put up Spinatrix. Wait, he would have put it up today as well, but he put up Spinatrix, the horse to follow this season, I think it was.
Yeah, he did. I think I gave her a mention as well.
Yeah. I sort of said, I think she's too highly handicapped now, and so they're running her in a stakes race, not a handicap, which is more than fair. But 7 to 2 is a bit short about Spinatrix, I think. Do you guys have any view on Spinatrix or any others?
Well, I can agree that she's too short. Sorry to go down there, but I think she's you could say that she's too short, but looking at the race, what can beat her? I mean, Joyous for me, back sprinting, she's interesting. I think she's more a 7 furlong horse as opposed to 6. I'm going to have to mention the German horse Gracia Director, who I'm about to tweet a link because Michael told me to during the video. So if anybody who's watching would like to see her last run behind Amarillo in Germany, then go to my Twitter right now and you can see the link there. That's a plug for German racing. But yeah, for me, Spinatrix will be the one to beat. But my issue, well, she'll like the ground, but I'm not sure about the draw for her. That'll be my only concern. But she does like to lead. So she could be dangerous from the front tomorrow. Just before we go on, I have to ask Callum, do you like Gathering Power in this by any chance?
Which one?
Gathering Power.
No.
Oh.
No, I revealed my selection in the last race.
Yeah, if you listen.
No, I know, but the same colours as Soul and Slade. I thought that it would have been a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah, but look, I mean, it's just inconsistent, isn't it? I think he wants better crowd as well. Yeah. Potentially, but you can never discount an Eddie Lynham horse because he's such a good trainer of sprinters. But
it's also interesting with Gathering Power that they've booked the 7th string Godolphin jockey with Mikel Barcelona.
Yeah, he seems to like Barcelona. I don't see what he sees in him, but yeah.
Yeah, you carry on now with Perfect Blessing. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Barcelona, if you're watching.
He always watches, to be fair.
Spinatrix, I think she's really consistent. She's got a really good jockey in Connor Beasley who rides her all the time and rides her very well, and he doesn't get to claim, but she's just consistently good in these sort of races and in handicaps, and she's easily listed quality, and I think she's the one to beat, but I think somebody can beat her. The 3-year-olds can win these sort of races. Joyeuse, like totally agree with Adam. I think she wants 7 furlongs, and I've never had her down as a 6-furlong sprinter, and Perfect Blessings is definitely the one for me here. I was so impressed by her last time out. I put her in the tracker first time out, actually behind Evita Perron in a Newbury maiden that always works out really well. But she looks like she has more than enough speed for 6 furlongs, and she goes on softer ground. Potential that she stays more, I think, will suit her, because this could be a bit of a slog, and I just think she could be a hell of a lot better than the majority of these, and it won't take that much winning. I mean, if Spinnertrick's setting the standard, she's rated 105. Perfect Blessings get a real decent amount of weight, being a 3-year-old, and is already rated 95. So Perfect Blessings, I'm quite confident, it's one of my main selections of the day.
Not quite your nap though.
No, nap comes elsewhere.
I put 2 up for the Scoop 6 when I was writing it down earlier. Spinnertrix was one of them. The other one I sort of gave an outside squeak to is Night Song of John Gosden's. Nikki Mackay takes the ride. She's only had the 3 runs, but of that, it's been on Good to Firm twice and on the All Weather once. I think, looking at her, I think she will take the softer ground from her race at Newmarket, mostly. I don't think she had the best run of the race that day either, 4 lengths off Wedding Ring. She was behind the whole field, then she had to come about 7 wide and switch and then go. And it didn't really, it was a massive inconvenience to her. She takes drop-in trip today, which I think, again, I haven't got a problem with. She showed a decent turn of speed once William Buick actually asked her to go. Obviously, she's going to have to improve immensely, but I can definitely see her making the frame. But it's a really tough race for me to sort of get through this one. But I'd give Night Song an each-way chance at 12-1 for Nikki Mackay and John Gosden. Moving on to the 320 at the Curragh, and this is sort of probably the race that we all really want to see, other than the Temple. But we've got the 2,000 guineas. Kingman is a very, very warm order after being beat by Night of Thunder in the English version of the race. And then we've also got the reopposing Shifting Power and War Command. Great White Eagle was also talked up quite a bit. Well, last season really, wasn't it? It was more. Is it a formality for Kingman, Callum, or is there something that can beat him?
I don't see Kingman getting beat, to be honest. So I thought he ran a really, really good race in the Guineas, and it looked a strong race this year. It looked a strong renewal. I just don't think there's anything better than him in this. I mean, the horses coming from the Guineas, I don't see any reason why they'll overturn the form on different ground, which should suit Kingman. And the only other horses that are coming into it that potentially have a chance, I mean, one's Mustajib, who I was really impressed by him last time out. I know he's giving Brendan Bracken a stone, but that rival's decent when he gets soft ground, and he just breezed past him. And he was behind War Command last year over 7 furlongs, but he looks a better horse now, and I think he's the one that will pick up the pieces if Kingman disappoints. But yeah, there's not many that potentially have a real chance. So I'll be very surprised if Kingman gets beat, and I'll be even more surprised if he does disappoint, that one of Mustajib, Shifting Power, and War Command don't win, because they look a lot better. Shifting Power, I think, is a really nice horse, but I think he wants a little bit more time. I just think he's a horse that will improve over the season, and I could see something like the Sussex going in his hands if it's the right field, or some sort of race like that. And War Command, I think he wants faster ground, and he disappointed in the Guineas, so I'll be surprised if he won. Kingman, if he keeps drifting, then I think he could potentially be a bet, because I don't see him getting beat. I really don't.
What price can you see at the moment?
I've got 4-5 here.
That's a fair price, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, I'd have him easily 4-6, easy.
Yeah, well, he's beaten 2 of the sort of protagonists today with Shifting Power and War Command. But yeah, it doesn't look a strong race looking elsewhere with sort of the likes of Johann Strauss. But you mentioned Mustajib, and I'll just quickly get it in. Mustajib is price-wise in the 320 at Curragh, and in the next race we're going to be covering in the 341 at Haydock. What about Carlo and Callum? Get ready to sigh. Bilimbi is also price-wise.
Unbelievable.
Sorry, Callum.
Oh.
But back to the 320 Cara. Adam, can Kingman be beat here?
Well, I've said it before about odds on shots and they have been beaten, but Kingman, I can't see him beat tomorrow, seriously, because his Guineas run was fantastic. I mean, we all agreed after the Guineas that people were disappointed by what the result was, but in actual fact, he was beaten by a very good horse in Night of Thunder, who Callum had described before the season had even begun as breeding porn. So that was a bit. I think that was within 5 minutes of the video. He'd already come out with that classic line. The horse that for me will come second will be Shifting Power. I really like the horse as well, and I've got further ambitions when he stepped up in trip. I said to somebody that I thought he'd run a big race in the Champion Stakes towards the end of the season on potentially softer ground. The ground here will hopefully help him as well, but for me, if I was to have a bet in the race, it would be a Kingman Shifting Power forecast. One more note on the race, War Command, he wants top of the ground. I don't think he'll like the ground tomorrow personally, so if he doesn't run well, I would see why. So Kingman and Shifting Power in a forecast for me.
How soft is it at the Curragh? Do you guys know? Because at the moment,
No.
Sporting Life is giving me turf.
It says yielding.
Yeah, yielding.
And also interesting to note as well, War Command has got headgear on as well.
Yeah.
Because they said in the Guineas they tried to wake him up and he just wouldn't go. So the headgear is obviously gonna. Well, they obviously think it's gonna work. So
yeah, it's that. War Command is one that would interest me. 7-1 might be a little bit short on softer ground. It'd be interesting to see how the cheap pieces actually liven him up, though. Obviously, he was sort of, again, the big talking horse of last year after he won at Royal Ascot very easily, then sort of disappointed the next time out, then went on to win the Dewhurst beating Outstrip, who went on to win the Breeders' Cup. So everyone's sort of getting really excited about War Command for the Guineas, and then it didn't really materialise. He wasn't even the stable's first string in the race. Kingman at 4-5, I think, as Callum said, is getting towards a bet. But I wouldn't want to be taking too short, and then obviously rate the horse very highly. It's impossible not to, but I probably struggle a bit by saying what's going to beat it. Obliterator is one that I may be a little bit interested in at 16-1 for a place maybe. Cheap piece first time, was ridden along the whole time. It was never on the bridle last time out, but then stayed on really, really nicely in the end. And I think at 16-1 could be worth an each way poke, but I find it very hard to see Kingman getting beat tomorrow, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But I'd like to see War Command run a nice race and actually show some of the promise he had as a 2-year-old. But moving on to the last race that we're going to be covering, and Callum did cry a little bit at Balumbi being put up as price-wise at 3-1 now. Callum, I'm sorry.
That's bad. It's just, Balumbi, I saw 8-1 in the week and thought it was a really backable price and didn't do it, and now he's ridiculously short. But I think he's without doubt the one to beat, and I think he's a very, very good horse, and he's pretty unexposed. And I was really impressed by him at Musselburgh. He won quite a valuable handicap at Musselburgh as well, beating Extra Noble, and he didn't really seem that keen on the faster ground either. And so considering the way he won and back to this sort of ground, I think he's a very, very good horse, and potentially group class, but there's others that could be group class in here as well, and whether I want to be taking 7-2 now is a bit of a worry. But I mean, the second Extra Noble has run really well since in the London Gold Cup last week behind the Cannock Chase, and I mean that is some of the strongest handicap form we've got on offer this season already. So bar that, Zarwan again, he's got some really strong form. He was second last time to Murwari, who ran a really good race in the 2000 Guineas over in France. The form of that has worked out incredibly well. I was just looking back at it. Brazos has won since, finished third. Showpiece has run well since. Hors de Combat, who runs in this, has won since and won a decent race. Lincoln's finished second. Extremity has won as well since then. So, I mean, that race is working out incredibly well. So, he's one you've got to put on your shortlist up in trip. What about Carlo? Won really well the other day at Sandown. Got the run of the race as such, and probably maybe flattered by the proximity of how much he won, but he did it really well. He's got to go on the short list. And then there's the form with Red Stargazer and Charte, who, I mean, there's nothing between the two. Charte travelled much the best and probably didn't find as much, and I think a stronger pace might suit Charte tomorrow. So I think Charte's my each way fancy for it at 12-1, and I think Balumbi will win it. And hopefully, if there's some Scoop 6 tickets at the end, think a lot will be on Belimbi, and a lot of people will be happy when he hacks up.
Just a line on starters as well. I think the ground will be in his favour tomorrow. I was there at Epsom when he won, and it was very, very soft. Okay, he probably did have the run of the race. He was in front a long way out and just kept on going. So I think he's going to be a proper stayer in time and probably over hurdles. But the ground, I think, will be perfect for him. 12-1, I can understand why Callum is putting that up each way. And I've also got that in my Scoop 6 as well, alongside my main fancy. But I'm going to let Adam go first. And Adam, you're allowed one. And if you steal mine, I'll kill you.
You are. I am going to steal. Well, I'm not going to steal yours. I will let you.
Talk about the other one.
Okay, I will talk about the other one then, which is Shatters, who I really like. He was second at Haydock last time out. The stronger pace will definitely help. The ground will help as well, because for me, as we said in the last time he ran, we think he's going to be a juvenile hurdler. So obviously, you're going to want him to get a little bit further on the flat just before you know he's going to go jumping. Luke's main selection I really like as well, and I'm going to put them up as like a joint selection, but both each way. Another point as well I'd like to add, there are now 2 non-runners, which now means this race is 3 places only. And also, just a question for Luke. Do you remember when you napped Riverboat Springs at this track a long time ago?
Yeah.
Can you give him much of a chance?
No. Is the answer. I like the horse, but I think he's a bit of, without being too mean to him, a bit of a rogue. To be honest, I think he's got a bit of a mind of his own. The one that I really do quite fancy in this one is probably going to be my nap of the day as well, is First Flight. Who I have to hold my hands up and say, after his maiden, I did back him for the 2,000 guineas for a very small each way stake.
You told me to as well, but I didn't. So
yeah, I was really taken with his debut. Then he ran in the Akoum. He was considered good enough to run in the Group 3 in his second run. That was behind the Grey Gatsby, and he was beaten 4 lengths, but finished last of the 6. He was so green that day. It was unbelievable. I couldn't see him beat in that race, and he just didn't have a clue what to do. Then we've seen him once as a 3-year-old at Sandown, and it was on softer ground. I don't think he doesn't not like it. He travelled into the race on the bridle about 2.5 furlongs out, and he was going like a really, really good animal off a mark of 90. Then probably just got a bit tired and maybe needed the race, and got passed in the end by the guitar horse, which I cannot remember the name of. But that was behind What About Carlo. He's got quite a bit to find with What About Carlo. But second time out, I think he'll be race fit. About 11-1, I think, is a cracking each way price about him. And also, I'm really, really, really happy that they've got Andrea Azzani on board. I think he's a fantastic jockey. He's probably one of the best in the weighing room, and he just needs to be given a few chances. So ecstatic about that. And I think 11-1 that First Flight is a fantastic price. And I have him down as one of the possible Group 3 horses that Callum was talking about earlier on. So there you go. That's confidence for you on First Flight.
Can I make one point?
Go on then.
With First Flight, what race did he run in at York last year?
The Akoum.
The Akoum.
Oh, I've always called it the Akoum.
It just sounded really weird. I was like, he's not talking about the Akoum, is he?
Okay. I've always called it the Akoum. Fair enough.
You're wrong.
I will not call it the Akoum on Bet Racing Nation tomorrow.
Oh, please do. Please do.
I'll tweet in.
We also must congratulate our presenter on being the presenter tomorrow.
Yay!
Racing Nation, and you must tune in.
Yeah.
And you have to, and to watch him say Akoum one more time. Please say it.
You must tune in to watch my demise tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, next week we'll have a new host, which will
exactly.
Callum.
I will be hiding underground probably. No, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. It's something different anyway than sitting in Twitter Corner or on the panel. So yeah, hopefully it will all go well. I'm just not looking forward to getting up ridiculously early.
You do that every Saturday anyway, so it'll be no different.
Catching about a 6:45 train or something ridiculous like that.
Ouch.
But that is all the races that we're previewing covered tomorrow. One question in from Kai Wills. He asked about the thoughts of My Titania, or My Titania, however you want to say it, the 1,000 guineas. I know a lot of people were on her for the 1,000 guineas in England, and then when she was ruled out of that, Twitter went into meltdown, it would seem. Would either of you guys give her a chance with the Irish 1,000?
I know Adam will. I think she wants further, if I'm honest. If I see the stars, pedigree suggests that I think she wants further, and I think her running style suggests that too. Any rain, I think, will help her though.
I'm of the different. Well, I'm not of the different opinion. The fact that she wants further, but they said that any rain and they'll pull her out. They really don't
really?
think she wants the rain. No, they
Oh,
think she's
okay.
the top of the ground horse. I agree with them on that actually,
Yeah,
and I
no,
would not
probably
be
right.
disappointed if she didn't run. But the only problem is if she doesn't run, she goes to the coronation, and I think she'd struggle there. But up in trip, I'd be very interested. And the gutting thing is she was taking out the Oaks as well. Not that I backed her for the Oaks, by the way, but I wasn't pleased to see that she'd been taken out. I'd have thought they may have gone for an Oaks trial somewhere, but if she's not ready, then fair enough. I can wait a bit longer.
That's what I would have done with her. I would have gone the name for the Oaks.
Yeah,
She doesn't look a miler to me. I
no.
mean, it's just like she takes a lot of getting going, and the fact that she has won over 7 furlongs, I think suggests she's a really good horse. And
Yeah, that's
um,
that's what made me think of her as a Guineas horse. But then I watch it back and I thought more of the Oaks. But
yeah.
yeah, hopefully over 10 or 12 furlongs this year she'll win a big pop somewhere.
I think she's got a lot of speed in her pedigree, so you know, could be wrong. Could be wrong.
There you go, Kai. That's what we think about My Titania on Sunday. Before we move on to nap, any other fancies tomorrow that you want to put up that you're not going to nap?
Yes, one. The Cattrick race, the 250. It's in the Scoot 6. I would have a look at Joe L. He ran last week at Ripon over a mile, but he really wants 7 furlongs. I know he wanted 7 furlongs when he ran a massive race. I think over course and distance before that, and I think he's one that he's potentially got a race in him, and he could spring a surprise in what is one of the Scoot 6 races. So 16 to 1, I think he was 20 to 1 earlier, he's now 16s, dropped down to 7 furlongs. I think could be a little bit of a plot, so keep an eye out for him.
Am I right in saying he's got Joe Doyle on board as well, claiming 7?
Yeah, he's got 7
Yeah.
claimer, yeah, Joe Doyle.
Yeah, Joe Doyle's a decent claimer as well. Actually, I'm quite a fan of him. Adam, have you got anything else that you'd want to throw at us?
Not anywhere else tomorrow, no.
Okay, so moving on to nap time then. Adam's favourite time of the day.
Oh, yay.
What? I'm actually Michael's not here. This is.
He has sent an app to us, though. He
But
did
this
send
is
one.
a chance for On the Other Hoof history.
Yeah.
A hat trick of naps going in 3 successive weeks, and he's not here.
He didn't give me any reasons, but he has gone for one, so if this does win, we will have to count it, because he did tell us. And it's just Paul in the 250 at Cattrick, which is a Scoop 6 race as well.
Yeah,
So,
he's 6. He won really nicely last time out. I think he'll win today as well.
there you go, man. That's a good endorsement. Oh, God.
There's your 2 for the Scoot 6 then, for that race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just a sole entry in there. There you go.
Go on, Adam. What's your nap for tomorrow?
Mine app. Oh, Jesus. I haven't a clue. It's one of them days where we're tempted to put Kingman in a double, but I don't want to touch Kingman, because if I touch Kingman, something will drastically go wrong. I'm actually gonna. You know what? I'm actually gonna go for an interesting one. I'm actually gonna go for Victoria in that sprint. I think that getting a bit of weight, and I also think the ground won't be an issue. And I have put her up before in the past, and it was successful. One of the rare successes I've had on the other hoop. So maybe I'll go with Victoria at the Curragh.
And she beat Gregorian.
Oh, Gregorian.
Give her that. Callum, your nap for tomorrow. I think you may have already mentioned it, haven't you?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, you haven't?
420 at Haydock. A horse called Wrangler, trained by William Haggis. Really impressed by his win last time out at Salisbury. He took a little bit of time to get going. His 2 starts before that weren't particularly impressive. But he absolutely hacked up over this trip on softer ground, and tomorrow I think he can win that handicap.
Not Cloudscape.
No, Cloudscape.
We're there on Guineas Day. Where's Cloudscape? There. Oh.
He ran a shocker that day. I don't know what happened, but I don't think he wants this sort of conditions now. Soft ground over 12.
Fair enough. I've already revealed my nap, really, haven't I? With First Flight, I mentioned before. I think it's a fantastic each way bet. I'm in the same camp as Callum with this one. With him on Balimbi at 8 to 1 earlier in the week, I looked at First Flight when it was about 16 to 1 earlier in the week. and then I didn't fancy backing it then, and now I've paid the price. It's 10-1.
Yeah, I paid the price with Dutch Masterpiece. I actually went in at 14s, and yeah, I don't.
I was so close to doing it.
I did it. I just sat there and I thought, if he runs, he will not go off 14s, and
No.
oh well.
Um,
Another day.
So the naps tomorrow: Victoria, Wrangler, and First Flight for myself.
And just Paul for Michael.
Just Paul for Michael, obviously. Not
Go
me.
for the free timer.
Yeah. But yeah, that appeared to be it for today's show. Any last words from you guys, or can we just go and do stuff now?
Yeah.
Best of luck
I'm ready.
tomorrow.
I'm ready to press a button for the first
Best of
time.
luck.
Oh,
Best of luck tomorrow,
Tom's learning.
Luke. There you go.
thank you, chaps.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, good luck, bro. Thank you very much for watching from all of us here on The Other Hoof. I hope you have a great weekend, and more importantly, a good betting day tomorrow. For everyone here, goodbye.